Hi everyone, just making a quick mic check. Ah, good.
Thanks.
Microphone in the room is good.
Thanks, Damien. We can hear you.
Damien, how are you? Can you hear me?
All good, yes, thank you.
Great.
Great. So welcome back. And I'm just going to hand over to Andrea and Damien Borowik. And will you, obviously you're going to both introduce yourselves, but
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
super exciting. This is a short one, like 20
yeah,
minutes.
20 minutes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 20 minutes per slide. Damien.
So, yes, hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you for having us with you at your retreat, which we hope is going very well indeed. We've got this quick intervention reflections that Andrea and I have put together here. My name is Damien Borowik, and I am part of the CSM digital learning team. I'm a learning technologist, and I'm also a creative technologist, but in my role at CSM, very much full-time learning technologist. How about you, Andrea?
My name is Andrea, and I teach on the BA Graphic Communication Design. And with Damien, we've been running workshops for our students to start conversations about the use of AI. We know that the students use it. We know that staff use it. It's not a problem. We want to talk about it as much as possible. And I think today we have just prepared a few slides, 10 in fact, 5 for me and 5 for Damien, and if we really manage to keep it down to 20 minutes per slide, we should be able to leave by 10. Damien, I think the first slide is yours.
Hopefully not 20 minutes per slide, but 1 minute per slide. And just to say also that with Andrea is the only rare person, academic, who has been approaching us, with whom we've been able to create some workshops, conversational, discursive spaces with the students in BAGCD. So we definitely need much more of engaged people like Andrea. But let me get to the first slide, and it is, I think this is yours.
It's mine. So yeah, we run workshops that are called AI and academic integrity. And I've just realized this morning that academic integrity is also AI. I didn't know it. But that moment of realization, I think I could only show it really with the cat gif. Yeah, cat gifs that go. Yeah, I felt like that this morning.
And can you explain further? I don't follow. The academic. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to talk about actually what we mean by academic integrity.
But academic integrity is also a.
Oh, I see.
Has those initials. Yeah, neither did we. I just realized it this morning. But anyway, that was just a joke. So when we talk about academic integrity, both with students and staff, I think the general feeling is that we are going to talk about plagiarism. I wanted to say something more than that, because when I talk about it, I talk about intellectual cost and environmental cost. And what I mean by that is this. When I was a kid, my family didn't really have enough money to send me to school. So actually I went to university when I was 32, but I had to work 14 years to get to that point. And I've always seen education as a form of self-care. I'm still a student. I'm studying foreign languages. I'm studying music. I'm studying dance. You name it. I want to study everything. I want to learn everything. And for me, I am paying that money to have a space to think and engage with ideas, with materials, with stuff, with other people. And sometimes when I use AI, and I do use AI as well, because I want to learn everything. So I also want to learn AI. Sometimes I have the feeling that I am outsourcing the very privilege I am paying for. So I don't want the AI to do the thinking, because I'm trying to build for myself a space to think. And that's one of the most important things for me. And the other one is that this comes with an environmental cost as well. So part of the academic integrity for us, when we speak to the students, is about making them reflect on the fact that AI costs a lot. Like there are various statistics that you can access online. AI costs 10 times more a normal Google search or whatever it is. But it's part of the same cost, actually. It's about using your resources in a fair way and to maximize our space to live together on the planet. So these two costs are strictly connected for me. It's about the use of resources and the use you make of them. So that's what we mean by academic integrity in our workshops. And so this the reflection is open. Damien.
Thank you, Andrea. So yes, very much. Academic integrity couldn't go without talking about ethics and sustainability in a wider term as well. We have a duty to provide an awareness around the responsible use of AI in research, in academia, in making work that are worthwhile. Knowing also that those AI models have been created based on some data sets that themselves have some difficult, how to say, those data sets are problematic in themselves. That's the word I was looking for. They have biases because they have mainly been made from digitized assets that have been found on internet. Internet being propagated mainly by the global north, and so lots of minorities, lots of stereotypes are being made based on these data sets that have been training the models. As you may have also seen in these workshops or in various other sessions or events you have been part of, you will also know that AI has this very great ability to recognize patterns through probabilities and to generate the most likely outcome that would come from an input. That would be the prompt that you ask it. And these biases will very much be coming to the fore because the patterns that are being recognized identify those more common generic ways of dealing with the content which comes from the global north, as I mentioned. And there is very interesting research, though, when you talk about people from CCI or from the artificial intelligence fields, that is not at all by any means recent. You will then be becoming aware of how important it is to own the data or to build your own data sets when using AI. And I'm talking very widely yet again in terms of the creative field. And it could be training some local AI with your own set of images or your own wordings. And to prevent those large language models that we know being Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, etc., to prevent these from accessing rightly the content that you own yourself. So there are ways to go about that as well in terms of running AI locally. And I've put some links to Hugging Face, for example, where we can get some different AI models. And there is quite a lot of them out there for sure. But Quen being one of the quite popular ones that can run on your devices. Talking about local AI as well, the hardware is quite important. And just a by the by, but the new M5 Macs are quite good these days at running some AI locally. And also the unified memory, the RAM that exists in the Mac hardwares, allow for both GPU and CPU usage. So it will be used in the ways that it is needed, such as running local AI. There's also a big difference in terms of open source and open weight AI. Some AI says that they are open source, but the model itself is closed off. And open weight means that you can see under the bonnet of the model and see how the ramifications of those tokens and the network that is being created around it. And of course, talking about sustainability, we have this environmental impact that can be very much seen in terms of the power usage, the rarefication of some hardwares, electronic as well. the economical impact of running some AIs, and I think it has been tenfold the costs of creating the models since ChatGPT-2. ChatGPT-3 was about $500 million, I think, and it's tenfold for ChatGPT-4. ChatGPT-5 has suspicions because they haven't necessarily been open with that either. And there's also, of course, this societal impact around AI and how sustainable things can be, which definitely needs to be taken in account as well. And I've got some more links to be shared as well. Do get in touch if you need. Back at you, Andrea.
Thank you, Damien. I want to quote a conversation that I had with a colleague, actually, who's heavily dyslexic. And he is using AI to produce work. And he was telling me that he felt, well, he used the word liberated. He said, you know, I feel AI for me is a liberation. Finally, I can say what I really wanted to say. And you know, I'm just putting it out for, again, for discussion. We had a discussion. I don't fully agree that AI completely frees you up. I'm sure it can support you. Of course, it has to be read critically. I use AI to help me translate stuff in other languages, also even in English, because English is not my mother tongue. But I know enough about English to be able to question certain translation choices. And I'm actually putting together a presentation that is called Conversations with Claude, which includes all our conversations about how certain terms get translated or mistranslated, which I hope to be able to present at another talk, another opportunity. But yeah, I'm putting this out because there's a lot of staff and students who use it to, you know, feel more safe in you know, linguistic expression. Damien.
So we can't talk about AI without talking about the stochastic parrot. The way that AI is trained is very much to not to please, because it's, as you know, not human. It doesn't have any sentiments, or it doesn't know what meaning is, or having emotions as such. But the stochastic parrot is very much to regurgitate what is likely to be asked of it. There's another term where we talk about garbage in, garbage out. But of course, the inverse could also be happening if you provide correct prompts, if you have sophisticated prompt engineering and have the skills to engage with AI in a way that will be meaningful in your research, in your work, and in this kind of contribution that could happen. Big differences between AI as we know it, or not, between the suggestions that could be provided in Netflix, or the kind of pattern recognitions that will allow for traffic light systems to be more efficient. Same thing to do with the motorways and all. Surveillance techniques as well can happen when basically the machine has been able to learn, machine learning, and recognize patterns, whether it is computer vision, recognizing pattern visually, or indeed through text. GenAI, very much this synthesis machine that allows for to guess the next character in a word, the next word in a sentence, or the next sentence or groups of sentences that belong to the same area of meanings. And this is very much what AI is today. It is not a collaborator. The terms of agents frustrate me as well, or assistants, but it's really hard not to talk about AI as if it was a being of some sort, because it very much comes back to us as being so, and it has been trained to be so. So we also have these mechanisms to find human traits in lots of things. Even a socket on a wall, we will see a face instead of just a polarity of where to plug an accurate machine. Andrea, it's you.
Thank you, Damien. So with colleagues, when we speak about assessing students' work and we think that the work has been produced by an AI, and a lot of the work actually is, I think we should not ask ourselves, did you use AI? Because that's already done. But we should ask ourselves things like, what are we assessing actually? I don't want to be in detective mode. I don't want to be the police. I don't care if the students use AI or not. It's a tool, just use it, whatever. Before AI, when I started teaching about maybe 30 years ago, students were not students who wouldn't write. They would ask a ghostwriter to write their thesis. So it's fine. It's that problem has always been there. But what are we assessing? I think it's a more important question, because Damien has just spoken about AI as a synthesis machine. And when I got my grades about 30 years ago, I was asked to write something that was a synthesis of other ideas. So my thesis, my dissertation actually, had three parts: a thesis, an antithesis, and a synthesis. So I was trained to be a synthesis machine academically. You read stuff and you bring ideas together in a form that is yours. So if we make a contribution of knowledge, it's in synthetic form before being in a creative form. So it's actually a similar process. So I'm asked, the question now is, what is actually human? Like, what is ours, in the sense, like, what do we actually make with it? Because the synthesis that AI can make can be good from a certain point of view. Like, it makes perfect sense in some weird way, but it's definitely also not human in some other weird way, even if it comes from completely human material, right? Because it's only human data on which the machine can be trained. So there's an interesting question there that we don't have an answer for yet. But I think it's an existential question, is not the technical. It's a philosophical existential question for me, not a technical one, definitely.
Thank you, Andrea. And yes, one thing that I would like to mention in here is the UAL guidance and policy around AI that can be found in the UAL AI Hub, the websites that we have there. There are two pieces that have been revised fairly recently, just a week ago or so. The AI statement and the student guidance that I was part of in revisiting. The crux of the matter is to keep a creative voice, to keep the dealings with AI to be human-centric, and to keep the voice of the creator. Very, very important in that way, and to educate staff and students through AI literacy, through awareness, to become proficient at using those tools in a way that is not just a copy and paste and submitting materials without reading them, but more to interrogate, to critique, to reflect on what this counterpart has to offer in terms of content, to try also as much as possible to ideate from ourselves and from our ideas, to prompt AI in a way that can guide it rather than to be guided by it as such. But yeah, good readings here, student guidance. I give it some praises because it's more open than it has been in the past, and it really goes to the crux of the matter of how can you use AI effectively, which quite a few students are not necessarily aware of, because it becomes ubiquitous in their lifestyle as well.
put in another conversation here, which I had with a student really recently. And the student was telling me that they don't want to use AI because they don't want to be told an answer. And this resonated with me because that was my experience. And the student was telling me, I'm learning more when I struggle to understand stuff than when somebody explains stuff to me. So I don't want to be told anything. And I was also thinking the same, like when we teach, we give problems to students. We don't give solutions. It's we don't really lecture. Like I do some lectures, but the passing of information is minimal. 90% of my time as a teacher is about creating a space where students can explore problems and find their own solutions. And I think in the context of an art school, that is much more functional. So again, this is just something to think about. It's not, we don't have an answer, but where is our pedagogy is an interesting question for me. Like, I don't know, man. When I go to the library, I learn more from the books I didn't know I was looking for than from the books I am looking for. And it's just by looking at the shelves and saying, oh, there's this one as well. That's interesting. That's interesting. And that's all stuff that with AI can't happen because the answer is direct and sometimes too quick. And so maybe we have the feeling that we know stuff, but we don't really know because we don't have the time to interiorize those answers. But that was a conversation with a student anyway, which made it even more interesting. Damien.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Andrea. The serendipitous way of learning and exploring and getting new ideas, new knowledge being formed by finding something that you are not expecting to have, and AI having the quick answer, the quick, final, polished answer as well that can be used. That's why also it's so attractive to cut and paste and having it as the answer and not having had all the exploration possible around all the avenues that a subject matter would entail. Alison, you've also added very interesting quotes here around experiencing assessment and learning. That comes back to this slide here around AI literacy and trying to build awareness that I mentioned previously. But we strive to try and create discursive spaces where we can talk about those things, where students can feel comfortable to be transparent about their use of AI, because there's still quite a lot of taboo around it. Even if the use of AI is fairly clearly shown in the work, a student will still deny it as being its own work, and that's how they've been learning to do things, or that's how they've written something, which can be quite debilitating and really hard to manage because of the denials. But we do have at UAL some really interesting platforms, such as the Open Out Creative Education Dialogues that I've been talking about AI quite a bit. The link will provide you the recordings that are hosted on Vimeo. And we also have access to LinkedIn Learning, and there's a learning path here around building AI literacy. I do have other links to other things, like there is an AI literacy self-enrolling course on Moodle that I can pass to you if you're interested, to let me know in the chat or else. And there is also some further things that I'm going to talk about in the next slides when it's my turn. But over to you, Andrea.
Thank you. And this is my last slide. And I think I'm referring to a conversation I just had yesterday with a student who told me that they started talking to an AI when they realized that it was practically impossible to book time with a technician in the UAL. I'm not going to say where, but this raises a number of questions. One is about, how we make ourselves available to students and how much availability is actually there in practice, and how we communicate that to students, that practical consideration. Of course, because the student was asking about how to use a specific machine, this also poses questions of health and safety risks, because what the AI told the student is not necessarily in line with the policies that the UAL has around the use of certain technical machines. So that's also something to be considered. And this is conversation that actually happened also in one of our workshops, Damien. I'm turning this way because you're there on the screen for me, but you're not.
I do remember there was some health and safety issues.
And yesterday, yes.
The camera's there.
Oh, he's there. Oh, wow, there's a camera there. I didn't even know I was in camera. Hello, everyone. Yeah, we had an intervention like this from a technician in the Grow lab in that case. And yes, there are issues there that really we need to be aware of, that the student may actually ask not only the academic side of, they may ask stuff that then endangers them greatly. So yeah, we need to talk about resources as well. Thank you, Damien, and over to you now.
Thank you. And yeah, my last slide, and sorry to be a bit over time, but very potent point that you are raising here about the safety, Andrea, and students or individuals of some sorts will more easily ask something personal even to an AI rather than to an expert, a doctor or else. So it does very much touch well-being as well. This is the over-dependency on AI that kind of starts to emerge, because it looks like this sentient being that has all the answers to everything and can sort out your life more or less. But at institution level, we all have a role to play. We all have an expertise. We all have a set of experiences that the students can be offered to students, that are offered to students, but students don't necessarily often come to us to ask for these helps. So it is up to us as academics, as technicians, academic support, disability services, librarians, digital learning, to do our bit to provide the awareness from our own sets, own side of the facets that is the student experience, and provide this awareness around and pitfalls of what it is to be using AI. The last link that I have here is for this educator toolkit that has been devised in the partnership with another university, Creative University, which has those cards that are for staff and students, for tutors and students, providing some kind of framework to start engaging in conversations around ethics, sustainability, criticality of using AI as well. So I will invite you to look at that, and there is some workshops that are being done here and there. There is one that's coming up 1st of July at CSM. Again, do reach out if you would like to be part of that. But thank you very much for the opportunity.